Hello everyone, welcome to Mommy Wise's Live. My name is Aditi Nahata and I am a child nutritionist. So today we're going to be talking about something very current that has been going on in every parent's mind, and that is the pandemic, the COVID-19 strain, and the mutants that have actually come out. So about a year ago, when we went into lockdown in March, everything we were reading and what the research was telling us was that COVID-19 is not very easily transferred into children. They're not very easily infected by it, and if by any chance, if they are infected, the symptoms are not very severe. But recently, since Jan, when we've been reading about the new mutants that have come out, we've been reading that they are as easily transmissible to children, and not only that, there are some reports which actually say that children are very severely infected by it. And there was this recent report by the Indian Academy of Pediatrics that said that more than 2,000 children have been affected by multi-inflammatory syndrome in our country. So there's all this information going on out there, and there's a lot of confusion with parents about what is actually happening, and how worried should we be about our children. So I'm very excited to have Dr. Raghuram Malaya with us today. I'm just going to add him in a second. Let me just tell you about him. He is a director of neonatology at Fortis Fem Hospital in New Delhi. He is also the founder of Amara Human Milk Bank in New Delhi and Bangalore. So he's a very experienced pediatrician, and I'm so happy that he is able to be with us today. So let me just quickly add him to the live. Hold on, sorry. I need to send him a request. Just give me a minute. In just a minute. So, hi, Dr. Raghu.
Hi Aditi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Thank you so much for taking out the time to be with us here today.
Absolute pleasure.
Let me start by asking you about the COVID new mutant strains that have come out. So there's a lot of things we're reading. Some are saying that it doesn't really affect children that badly, although children are more easily infected by it. And then there's some reports which are saying that no, children are very severely affected by the new mutants. So can you just enlighten us a little bit by what really the case is and what you've been seeing, and how worried as parents should we be?
Actually, Aditi, the business with COVID has been quite tricky because nobody actually understands what is happening. Even the experts are learning on the go. Even the Infectious Disease Center of the US in India, we are still accumulating information about how people react to COVID, what are the long-term implications of COVID. We still don't understand entirely what sort of immunity we get when we do get the infection, the natural infection, or for example, even when you do get the vaccinations, how long the immunity lasts, what is the methods of transmission. As most people may recall, when COVID started last year, there were so many things that we were advised not to do. But slowly we have started understanding that maybe those things were not that important, and they do not probably cause or they're not a source of infection for people. So there are a lot of things that we're all learning on the go, and I don't think there's anything very definitive about COVID. I don't think anybody with authority can tell you that this is right and this is wrong. Most of the things that we are doing is based on our own experience of what we have learned as we go about dealing with the COVID patients. But to cut a long story short, generally, most infections, when they come in, most of the pandemics that we've seen in the world tend to affect kids very badly. Like, for example, the flu pandemic or the MERS pandemic, all the other ones which we've had in the past have always affected kids. And as pediatricians, we always had to deal with the larger burden of this disease. For some God-blessed reasons, COVID has not been affecting children as badly as what it has been affecting adults. Nobody still understands, again, why children are spared, because if you think about it, generally speaking, most people feel the children have lesser immunity than adults.
Exactly.
And going by that, then most of the children should be getting more infections rather than adults. So, like I said, nobody knows, but for whatever good reason it may be, that children have been much less affected compared to adults. Um, and like you said, there are different strains of virus coming around, and I think this is going to be the normal evolution of the disease. Most of the viruses are very adaptable at mutating, and they keep mutating on a regular basis. But I was just going through some literature a few weeks ago. Luckily, even with the new variants, most of the people are not getting reinfected with the new
Okay.
mutants. Again, the data is very sparse, but whatever data little bit we have, like for example, if you had the infection with the COVID, the same person has not got reinfected with it, with the new variant, which probably means to say that we may be having some cross immunity and you may not get that badly affected by it.
Okay.
But the one thing that everybody knows about COVID is that it's highly infectious. It can spread from one person to the other. And the general pattern that we've seen is if one of the persons get the infection in the house, most likely everybody in the family is going to be affected by it.
Very.
We have seen a lot of cases. Luckily, almost all the children that we've seen have been either asymptomatic and they've been checked mainly because somebody in the family is turned positive and they've been checked. A small proportion, maybe only 5 or 6% of these babies had symptoms like mild fever or a mild cough and cold. Luckily, none of these babies needed admission, and none of them needed hospitalization. So, generally, compared to the havoc that it has been causing in adults and the older age group people, children have been largely spared.
Okay. And that applies also for the new mutants that we've been reading about,
Yeah,
the
so
double strain mutants.
yeah, the new mutants. Although one of the living in today's world, there's a lot of hype which comes out with the press and the social media. I don't think anybody understands the significance of the new mutants. But generally speaking, any virus that comes into the world is going to mutate. Almost all viruses do mutate, and especially a virus like the SARS, which is a very infectious virus. Its natural ability is to survive in this world, and it can travel from one person to the other very quickly. So its normal response when it starts infecting more number of people, um, they will they will mutate. And like I said, we do not know what the effect of the new mutated virus is as of yet. I don't think it has caused more problems in the adults, other than the fact that we are getting cycles of reinfection happening in the same countries. So, like for example, Europe. I think has started the third cycle now of infections. So you'll get a spike of infections which happens. I think the largest significance of the mutant strains are that it's going to come in and cause another infection. I don't think there's any evidence to suggest that it causes a more severe infection. I hope I'm clear about this, and I don't think there's any evidence to say that the second mutant or the third mutant or the multiple mutants which may arise, there's no evidence to say that they've caused more havoc or more severity of the disease. But they are going to cause cycles. Like for example, UK has been through cycles. Europe is going through the third cycle. As we
Yes.
know, India has now entered the second cycle of the SARS-CoV-2 infection. So what you're going to see is whenever the mutants come, we will probably start seeing spikes within the population. But I don't think there's any evidence that they're more severe than the previous ones.
Okay. Okay. So, like you're saying that you've seen that people who have not been who have already been infected don't get easily infected again, even with the mutant. So, does that mean is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so like I said, the data is very little at the moment. We were trying to look at data for some other reason, and we couldn't find anybody publishing data. Like I said, everything about COVID is so new.
Yes.
People have to accumulate data first for us to be sure of what we're talking about.
Right.
But I was trying to look, and I was talking to somebody in the UK a week ago, and they said that they've not seen, even with the new mutant, which they got it earlier than us, they did not see people who had been infected previously being reinfected with this.
Right.
But again, all this is people talking about things. We do not have any collective data
Right. There's no
upon
conclusive
this.
evidence.
There's a very strong
Right.
possibility you may get reinfected, and we do not know if it reinfects you, whether you're going to get it even worse than what it was with the first infection. We don't know about the data, but there have been a few case reports of those, but those are far and wide apart. It's not been the norm.
Okay. So, if that is the case, does it mean that once we're vaccinated, even if there are mutants coming along, we shouldn't really worry?
Yeah. So with regards to the COVID, it's very difficult to be specific. Even the vaccination, honestly speaking, even the vaccination companies don't know the answer to this question. I don't think anybody will be able to give you a definitive answer about this. But generally speaking, with most other bugs, if you are vaccinated against a particular bug, you do get what is known as cross immunity. So although the variation is slight, there is some amount of the virus which is the same to the parent group or
Right.
to the one to which the vaccine was developed. So generally, you do get
Right.
cross immunity in most conditions. That's known as
Okay.
cross immunity. That holds good for a lot of the bugs for the vaccinations which you get. For example, a common one is the rotavirus vaccine, which I don't know most of the parents might be aware because the little ones would have had it after they're born. So there are a
Yes,
number of
yes.
variants of that one. So
Right.
although they're vaccinating only for 4 or 5 of the variants, it does give you cross protection for the other 10 variants. So
Okay.
you do get what is known as cross protection in most of the viruses. So
Okay.
with the COVID, actually nobody knows whether this is going to be a permanent effect, it's going to be a short time effect, whether you will get cross protection. But generally, if you go by the general rule, you should get some amount of protection.
Okay. So, we were really at this phase where we were thinking we were kind of done with this. Now people are getting vaccinated, and now we can finally start, sending our children to school.
Yeah,
So, I
yeah.
mean, what is really your opinion on schools opening? And, what are you seeing with COVID cases that come to you? And yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
So, Aditya, actually, my view of the corona from the day it started has always been very clear, and I told people from the day one that this virus is not going to go away anywhere. You can lock down your country for 6 weeks, 10 weeks, 14 weeks, but the problem is not going to end at that point in time. And you see, the influenza virus, which the normal flu virus in the common terms, what people call,
Right.
it is about 1/10 as infectious as this, and that is not going away anywhere in the world. We get it every year. We get 2 or 3 bouts of the flu
Oh yeah.
virus, which
Oh
sweeps
yeah.
us across. And the coronavirus, the SARS-CoV-2, is about 10 times more infectious than the flu virus.
Right.
Once it comes into the community, it's almost going to be impossible for us to get rid of it. Even with the vaccination, we're not going to get rid of it.
Right.
I think the only way that I look at it from a different perspective, that I think we need to get used to the virus.
Okay.
The virus is already here, and the virus
Right.
is here to stay. And I don't
Right.
think any number of lockdowns, any number of whatever else you do, you're not going to. It's not going to go away. It's here to stay, and we are going to get bouts of this infection. And like you correctly pointed out in the beginning, that you're going to get variants. You're going to get variants of the virus, and it's here to stay. It's not like 2000 is over and the virus is going to go away. 2021, the
Right.
virus is here. I think 2022, the virus is going to be here. I think we as people will get used to it. We have to get used to it. There's no other choice in the matter. You
Okay.
have to take the normal precautions of wearing the mask. And I don't know how long we'll have to end up wearing the mask, but we'll
Yeah,
have to
it's tough.
continue wearing the mask. Yeah, it's very, very tough. One of the parents came and told me the other day, Doctor, I don't mind anything else, but I don't want to wear this mask. I'm so fed up wearing this mask for the last 1 year.
It's
But
true. It's true.
I think that's the only most, among all the things that we do, the most effective thing that's actually worked is the mask.
Is the
So
mask.
I'm almost certain the mask is here to stay for a long time. It's going to become a part of a way of life, I would say.
Oh really?
And we have to get used to it. All of us, and I'm sure if you compare to what the hysteria was in March 2020 and April 2020, a lot of people have got used to it and they've come to terms with it. They don't fret at the word of coronavirus. Previously, people used to just freak out the moment anybody mentioned the name of corona. People are
Yes.
getting used to it. We are seeing it in our own practices, in our own hospitals. People are more relaxed with it, and I think this is what's going to happen. So I've always said this from the very beginning. When patients would ask me last April or June, May or June, when they came in, they said, "How long do we need to do it?" I said, "This is going to be it. Corona is not going to go anywhere. It's here to stay, and we need to get used to it. We have to
So I mean,
learn to deal with it."
so when you see deal with it, there are certain children that are high risk because of any pre-existing conditions that they have, or even our own children that we don't know how they're going to react. So how best are we supposed to protect our children, especially the ones with pre-existing conditions, if they start going to school or children, I mean, it's very difficult to explain to children that you need to wear the mask and it needs to cover your nose, because I mean, I have a son who's 6 and he refuses. Like, even if we're on a flight, he will just put it down and be like, this is all I'm going to do. So,
Yeah.
so what are the precautions we can take, and how to deal with, especially those that are already have pre-existing conditions?
Yeah, so it's not going to be easy, Aditi, to deal with this problem. It is going to be difficult. I think a lot of the kids and a lot of us as adults have learned to deal with the virtual world. Most of us are dealing with the world on a virtual basis, and a lot of the kids have been dealing with it. If you want to play it the safest, then that's the only way to do it. But as you know, that's got its own problems. You remove the human element out of it. You remove the social element. Socializing is a big problem. We've seen a lot of kids in the last 1 year, especially the kids between 18 months to 2.5 years, 3 years. They've had no social contact at all, and most of your social skills develop during that period of time.
Exactly.
Although you may learn all the lessons in school virtually, you miss this whole business of interaction.
Right.
And that is going to be a realistic problem, and there is no easy way out of it. The part of what they need to study, that can be done through the virtual world, but the part of the interaction business is going to be
The physical.
Yeah, mainly the interaction part, with how to talk to people, how to socialize with people, how does a child share things with another child, and those are the important things that they learn during that phase of their life. And that is going to be a problem, and there's no easy answer to it. I think we'll have to let children start going to school in phases, so that we all get used to it. Maybe only part of the class goes every day, so you don't have overcrowding in the schools. You have to continue trying wearing the mask. Now the new latest CDC guideline is that you don't need to keep a distance of 6 feet. They say that 3 feet is enough, and you don't spread the virus beyond 3 feet. So, like I said, we will get more information about it, and we'll have to get used to that. There will be no other easy way of dealing with it. And finally, at some point, everybody has to go to school, and that is going to happen. But I think it's going to happen in phases. So I was just talking to people in the US and UK. They've also restarted back the schools. I think UK restarted back the schools in March, even though they were going through the second phase of infection. They were still at the peak of the second phase infection. It was just waning down, and they decided to start schools because they decided that how long can we do this, and everybody has to get used to it. And like I said, luckily, children have not been badly affected by it. Although you mentioned about the multi-system inflammatory syndrome, but that is very, very rare. Although the IFD has reported these cases, they are very rare conditions. They are not the run-of-the-mill conditions.
Can you tell us a little about what it is and how it affects children?
So the first thing I think, before we get into the topic, parents should not get scared. This is not to cause panic among people. This is just for awareness. So please don't panic and start relating that everything that happens, because in this world you can relate everything to everything very easily. This is not to cause panic or confusion among parents. It is a very, very rare condition. Most of your kids itself luckily don't get corona, and even if they do get it, it's usually going to be very mild. There's a very, very small proportion of kids, again, still very poorly understood, not very clearly defined. They get this, what is known as a multi-system inflammatory syndrome, which you do get in some other conditions as well. It's not that this is the first time we're seeing it, but it has been associated with kids who recovered from the initial coronavirus, or when they've had the coronavirus during the first episode itself. They've had this problem. Basically, it's very difficult to differentiate it, but it's like any other illness. You get high fever, the child may look unwell, the child may have severe stomach pain, they may get a rash all over their body, which, like again you said, they're very non-specific symptoms. You can get these in so many other conditions. So it's very difficult to differentiate and say that yes, you got this. So the important thing is for people not to panic, but the child looks a lot more unwell and the fever is not coming down. You need to go and see your doctor. A lot of the kids with this syndrome also have recovered completely, but they might need hospitalization.
Okay. So having said that, you just mentioned, they need to go see a doctor. So my next question to you is going to be about the COVID vaccine, and then of course vaccines in general. So I mean, we know that COVID vaccines are only eligible for, I think there's some vaccines that are 16 plus and some that are 18 plus. But
Yeah.
what is your opinion and your thoughts about vaccines being available for our children, so that at least as parents we can be at peace to send our children to school? And if parents are vaccinated, then is that okay to send their children to school? So what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so let me take that one point at a time.
I
Uh, I
understand.
I think parents being vaccinated will not give immunity to the child per se.
Okay.
Just one second. Uh, the parents being vaccinated will not give immunity to the child per se.
Okay.
The child will have to get their own vaccines to get the immunity.
Okay.
At the moment, there's no vaccine which is licensed to use in children.
Exactly. Yes.
And trials have started with the AstraZeneca vaccine. I think about a month ago or 2 months ago, they started the trials. They were not sure of the dosing for the children because they thought their child may need another extra dose. And some studies show that you may need only one dose for the child as well. So they're still ambiguous about the dosing of the vaccine for children. So I don't think, realistically speaking, a vaccine will get permission for children in the next sort of 3 to 6 months.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get a confirmation of the vaccine for that period of time.
Okay.
Uh, However, so I think it's been actually done with a purpose because children were not very badly affected. They were not included in the trial, and the priority was to protect the ones who were most
At risk.
the yeah. Normally, children are considered as the at-risk population for most conditions, and like I said, for some blessed reason, COVID has spared children, which is extremely good. But obviously, there is children have not been affected, so the vaccine has not been prioritized for children. It's been mainly prioritized for the adults. But I would feel that in the next 6 months or so, it will come in, and once it comes in, vaccines will be available, and everybody should try and get the vaccines,
Okay.
so that you know that you got protection. And I think even if the variant changes, my feeling is that you will get some amount of protection even on the new variants.
Like you said, because of cross protection.
Yeah, you will most probably get. Like I said, it's too early to say that, but I would be very surprised if you didn't get it.
Okay. So like you said that the COVID vaccine is not going to be available for kids for the next 3 to 6 months. But what
Yeah.
about other regular vaccines? I mean, parents, myself included, are still so scared to take my child to the doctor that I have probably missed on his last 6 months of vaccines. So what is your opinion on that? Should we take them? Is it fine, or should we wait?
I think that's a very, very good question. And it is something that we've been telling people since the coronavirus business started. There is a real fear now that vaccine preventable diseases, which means diseases which were prevented because we were vaccinating people, have now started emerging because a lot of people have missed the vaccines in the last 1 year. Not only in India. We're not talking about India. This data is from across the world. Even in the US, there was a article from Cleveland which said that from the Mayo Clinic had published figures that a lot of people had missed the vaccines during that last 6 months or 8 months, whatever period of time frame. So there's a real fear that we will get vaccine preventable diseases. And by that, we're talking about things like breakouts of measles, rubella, even conditions like diphtheria and pertussis, which we hardly ever saw because, vaccine uptake was so very good. And this is a real fear, although there have been no published reports of it, but there's a lot of apprehension that we will start getting these vaccine preventable diseases. And for this reason, I think it's very important for people to go and get their vaccines done and catch up with them. Even if they've not done it in the past and they've missed it, you should go and get it. Like I said, the chance of getting corona is much lower in the current day scenario, and you should find the window of period and go and get it. We ourselves in the hospital never stopped vaccinations even for a single day, even in the month of April last year. We
Okay.
continued with the vaccination drive, and any parent who called us, we would tell them, please come in and get your vaccines. Don't
Okay.
miss the normal vaccines because everybody today, the whole world is looking only at corona. We're not looking at the other problems that you may
We've
have.
forgotten. Yes.
Yeah, everything in the world, it starts and the sun rises and sets with corona, which is a very wrong way to look at the world because there are so many other problems, and
Right.
just because of corona you don't start creating another new problem. So
Right.
I think in that context it's very important for people to go ahead and get their vaccinations done.
Okay.
Most hospitals are taking care of making sure that there are not too many people, as long as you wear the mask and you go, and obviously children can't wear masks or the babies don't need the mask. And I just like to make one point very clear about the mask business. The mask is worn mainly for you to stop from transmitting infection. It doesn't so much prevent you from getting the infection as what people think it might. It does
Okay.
probably give you a little bit of protection, but it's mainly worn so that you don't spread the infection to somebody.
Okay. Okay.
So I think it's very important to take the kids across and to make sure that the hospital is neat and clean, and most hospitals are taking care of this.
Right.
Please go and catch up with the vaccinations, even if you miss them. Don't postpone them forever. It is important to go ahead and take this because this is going to happen. That we are going to get vaccine preventable diseases.
Okay, okay, that's a very interesting point. I mean, I wasn't aware about, seeing these new these old diseases resurface. So, thank you for
This is a very
that.
common phenomenon. This happens at some point in time. I think about 20 years ago, there was a fear raised that the MMR vaccine caused autism, and a lot of people stopped taking the MMR vaccine. And UK, which I was in the UK at that time, and UK, which had never seen cases of measles, in a year reported around 400 cases of measles uh, because people stopped taking the vaccine for about 9 months till that
That's how
whole thing was
important.
clear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how.
So yeah. So because there was a mass number of people who stopped taking the vaccines,
Okay.
but then they restarted back the vaccine drive, and then they got control of it. But it is a very known phenomenon to happen.
Right. So there's another thing I wanted to ask you. You sort of touched on it earlier, which is what we're seeing with our kids today. Is because of course they're confined to being in their homes. There's an increase in screen time. There's a decrease in social behavior, and as a result, we see an increase in aggressive behavior. Throwing huge temper tantrums and all of that. So, like you said, that that is a very important part of growing up for children at that age, but they're not getting it. So, is there a solution you see to this, or is there something that a lot of parents just end up saying that whenever they start going to school, it will settle itself. So, do you think it's something that will settle itself, or is this a more serious problem? The screen time, the way it affects their growing brains. Is that something we should be concerned about, or should we just assume that no, it will settle with time as soon as they start going back to school?
So I think the optimistic part of me thinks that this will settle down, and I think most kids, once they go back to school, they will start doing things. It may take a little longer for them to get adjusted to the new way of life, if I can put it in inverted commas, because they are now used to not being with people, and now they have to get used to being with people.
Right.
I think they will get used to it, and I don't think there will be a problem in the long term for a vast majority of the kids. There'll be a small minority of kids who will find it difficult to cope with the new situation, if I can put it that way, of being with other kids and trying to share things with people and getting interactive with people. And I think we'll have to deal with that. And the parents will have to learn how to deal with this situation, and slowly probably get them. It may take them 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and they will get back into it. But like I said, the way everybody looks at it is, we don't want to get corona. Corona is more of a problem. The social issues we can deal with later on. I think that's a fair approach to have because that's what normal human psychology is about. You want to protect yourself. We are born to survive. So I think that's a normal thing to have. So they will have to maybe get into sort of group sessions, maybe start having a smaller group session with parents who are probably immunized because they've already had the infection, so they can bring their children over and they can meet in smaller groups of a known group sort of thing, like having a group
Right.
session where
Right.
the
Right.
child meets up with other children. I think those have to start because otherwise it is going to get tough for these kids.
Okay. And what are you sort of seeing with pregnant women and newborns, and what do you recommend for them to do in terms of precaution? Because, like you said, Corona is here to stay. So, how should we deal with that?
So we've had a lot of mothers who have been positive and who have delivered babies. We've had a lot of them.
Okay.
Since I'm a neonatologist and mainly deal with newborn babies, we've had quite a lot of mothers who had even delivered very premature babies, born at 28 weeks, 29 weeks gestation. They stayed in a unit and they did absolutely as any other baby would have done. We didn't have any major problems.
Okay.
None of these babies actually tested positive. They were all negative. None of them actually had the infection. And we continued treating them like normal. The mother continued breastfeeding the baby, as she would have done otherwise. We did not separate the baby from the mother at any point. We just, in the very initial period, we used to keep the baby around 6 feet away from the mother, which was the normal recommended social distancing at that point in time.
Yes.
The mother used to wear a mask, and she fed her babies as well. We did not separate the baby from the mother, and none of these babies actually had none of them actually tested positive for the on the RT-PCR test. We in fact had a mother who had corona about a month ago. We had about 3-4 mothers like this, and when the babies were born, we tested them for the antibodies, and these babies had antibodies. Yeah, so they did have a reasonable amount of antibodies, which means that this baby was protected, which is expected. It's nothing unexpected, because if the mother's had the infection, she's going to pass on the antibodies to the baby.
Right.
So generally, as a rule, like I said, ours was one of the fields which got very mildly affected. Most of the mothers, at one point in time, I think it was in November, October, November, when the cases were like going up like crazy. Almost every mother who came to the hospital was testing positive.
Oh my
We had
God!
so many people who were positive, and luckily we did not have any problem with any of the mothers or with the babies. Most of them were asymptomatic though.
Okay. And what about precautions for newborns? So, I've got a couple of friends who just had babies, and we try not to visit them because we're just worried.
Yeah.
So, is that what we should be doing, or what kind of precautions?
I think that is sensible, not only in the corona times, but at all times. That you need to not to have too many people going and seeing the baby, because other than the corona, they can get other infections as well. But I think that's the safest thing that you can do, is for people not to go and visit. And even if you see the child, then obviously you need to wear the mask, maintain the social distance. People should not go and touch the baby, carry the baby, kiss the baby, which is a very common cultural thing that we do in our country. So we need to be very careful with these things, and you take normal hygiene precautions like washing your hands, sanitizing your hands. Like I said, you may not be able to completely stop visitors from seeing them, but at least maintain the distance and maintain the corona decorum, if I can say it as that.
And by how many months does the baby, start becoming a little more immune, like other children, where you're saying that they're not that affected?
I don't think there's any data on that as to what point in time they will become more immune. The way our immune system works is that if you get exposed to a particular bug, it's not necessarily that you will get a disease every single time. But if you are if you're existing in the community for a while and the bug is working in the community, you may still inhale that bug, but you may not get the infection. But you will become antibody positive. You may get antibodies to it. So that's how you get protection for most of the ones. So, like for example, same thing happens with tuberculosis, with malaria, and all the other conditions. If you are living in a particular area which has got a lot of tuberculosis, you may not develop tuberculosis necessarily because you have a good immune system, but you may already have antibodies for that.
Antibodies. Okay.
So that's how it's going to work with corona as well. If the mothers have the corona, then the baby is usually protected. Now, again, we do not know for how long the antibodies last. That is very variable depending upon certain conditions. For example, if the mothers had chickenpox anytime during her life, she passes on antibodies to the baby when the baby is born. The baby is definitely protected from chickenpox for the first 9 months of life, because a lot of studies have been done which have shown these antibodies stay in the mother's blood and the baby's blood for about 9 months.
Okay.
So, with corona, we do not have any data about this. Yeah.
Right. Wow, that's a very enlightening point. So, thank you so much, Dr. Raghu, for making the time out for being with us here today.
No problem.
It was really nice of you. So, I hope all of you found this session informative. Please do follow us, Mommy Wise, for future lives. And thank you once again, Doctor.
No problem. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. You too.
I hope everybody enjoys and don't stop worrying about the corona. We all have to get used to it.
Yeah, like you said.
Yeah.